today I'm presenting this work called LOCC-Assisted quantum circuit for long-range entanglement state. So if I should use one sentence to summarize the idea, it's just like we want to find a way to jump elegantly or smartly in the Hilbert space for a long-range entangled state preparation task. And below is the paper, the DOI alpha paper. Yeah, and here are my co-authors, Muzhou Ma, Yuxuan, and Xiongfeng Ma. And Zhou will also give a talk later, so if you're interested, you can listen to it. So first, I start with the background. We first talk about what is long-range entanglement. So we consider a state preparation can be prepared by the circuit with this kind of T-depth circuit. And here, each U1 to UT, just some non-overlapping geometry local gates. And when consider there is a kind of how many T do you need to get this state prepared? And if the T is infinite, then in the physical context, we call it a long-range entangled state. And otherwise, we just call them like short-range entangled. So here we give some kind of examples. It's like we just think like in computing, all the topological quantum memory and computing is actually based on long-range entanglement. And in physics, we think like quantum topological order and error correction codes are also like rely on long-range entanglement to work. So here are two figures. The left one is for service code, and the right one is for GRZ, and we'll show them later. Yeah, it's here. So for GRZ, actually, if we want to prepare it by a unitary circuit with this geometric local gates, then if we are subject to 1D topo constraint, then it take a linear with n is the number of qubit size. So you can prepare such a state. And even if you have an auto connection circuit, you still have to have an omega log n dipole circuit. So basically, we can just look at the state is a lot of zeros superposed with a lot of 1. So it's kind of global entangled together. So it is very difficult to actually generate such entanglement. So although there is a famous example called surface code, and it's discussed mainly in 2D, then you still need a kind of square root of n depth to prepare such a state. And the problem is like this kind of depth requirement is experimentally very challenging. Like if you take some like a depolarizing noise and you do not have QEC, then actually beyond this log n point, you actually do not have the ability to generate such a state because the noise will destroy everything. So here is just a problem. Like they are very useful. They are good for QEC. They are good for topological order, but they are very difficult to actually prepare. And luckily, people found a way to actually do this by so-called adaptive circuits, or use the term of our paper is called LOCC-assisted circuit. So the idea is just like we can look at the figure on the left. It's like if you are using unitary circuits, then every time you do a layer of gates, you just expand, like the blue part, you just expand the area you can explore in the Hilbert space. But like we have a red flag denote like a very distant, in this metric, very distant state, like GRZ or surface code. Then it will take you a very deep circuit to actually get that point. So the point here is like you can actually have some shortcuts, like labeled by this orange robot and arrow. So you can just jump in this Hilbert space very fast. So the idea is like you can do measurements, and after the measurement, the state will be collapsed, and you use the measurement outcome, the mid-circuit measurement outcomes to control the following operation you do. And if you do so, you find like you can use a significantly shallow circuits to do the actually same state. So this is what we show on the left. And on the right is what it looks like in a circuit. Just like you have some gates, unitary gates, this blue area, and you also have some measurements, this orange part. And they are work together to shape this so-called adaptive or LOCC-assisted circuit. So like here, we just use one sentence, just like you can jump in, like in this kind of circuit. And actually, the example we just mentioned, the GSN and the service code, they can, if you are using this LOCC assistance, then you just need O1 depth, the constant depth, you can prepare such a state. And here, the idea is basically from the error correction codes. It's like you just do some single measurements. And I will not go into very details here, but people just found these examples that LOCC can help you to generate such kind of long-range entanglement state. So here is the motivation of our work. It's like we have a lot of examples, maybe not that a lot, but some example. We know LOCC can help you to generate such a state. But we do not know whether this is kind of generally we can do this. So, and how do we prepare such long-range entangled state in general with shallow circuits? Yeah, so we kind of like to find some kind of searching or optimization approach. And our approach is called LOCC-VQE. So VQE is short for variational quantum eigensolver. So basically, it's a searching or optimizing way of finding a ground state of some unknown system. So our framework is just putting LCC and VQE together to enable the VQE algorithm with this new LCC physical ability and to do this kind of long-range entangled state. So I just use one slide to summarize all things. So the good thing about this is you can use low circuit depth to reach this state, just as mentioned earlier. And it's a kind of general framework. You just give me a Hamiltonian and I can give you the ground state. And also we will show it's kind of scalable and experimentally it's very friendly because the circuit depth is shallow. So here the figure is the left-hand side is the unitary VQE. It's just VQE we are talking about every day. So it's just kind of like you have some input state and do some tunable unitary and get the Hamiltonian. And you do the optimization to find the best U or best state that is the ground state of the Hamiltonian. And the right-hand side is we are still doing optimization, but the difference is we have a lot of measurements here. So we just do some unitary, some measurements, and again. So the complexity here is just the measurements outcome is random, so you cannot force them to be some value. So that is actually the technical difficulty of this new problem. So actually, you naively can do post-selection, but it will give you a very huge overhead. So what we are doing, just we can actually avoid this post-selection and still do this optimizing framework. So yeah. So this is actually basically what we are doing this. So here is just how can we deal with this mid-circuit measurement outcomes? So basically we should divide the parameter into two different kinds. The first kind is the parameters in this blue area is this theta. Basically they are just the parameters on these quantum gates. But actually they are not fundamental or independent parameters because they should be dependent on the previous measurement outcome labeled here by V. So basically we are just treating this like output of some classical feed-forward functions labeled by this G. And also because we want to tune this G or tune this circuits, so we need some parameters to control this G, which is labeled by gamma here. So the gamma is a fundamental parameter we want to do. So basically, it just gives us a feeling of the chain rule. It's just like you have two steps. First from the gamma, you calculate all the theta, which is the parameters in the gates in the circuits. And from the theta, you are calculating the energy. So if we go backward and want to get the gradient, then we first from the energy to the theta, which is actually something called quantum gradient or parameter shift in the kind of a conventional VQE. Yeah. So the second part is just what we added to this new framework. It's just how this theta kind of responds to the gamma. So which is kind of a classical feed-forward function we define. So this part of gradient is just given by some auto gradient. You just do auto gradient to your classical feed-forward function. And these two combined together will give you the gradient you really want, just how should you tune the fundamental parameter gamma. And there is an inner product structure. And so in our work, we found there is an efficient sample algorithm that you can just do not do post-selection and just do this kind of estimation. But I won't go to details here. Yeah, but basically the idea is just this classical and quantum hybrid framework can give us a gradient of this hybrid circuits. Okay, so we just give a very quick overhead analysis. First is I want to mention again that we can avoid post-selection, which I believe is the most important part of this protocol. And also, we can see this LOCC systems actually do not increase in your sampling overhead. It's like you have some new parameters, fundamental parameters gamma, but actually we can reuse data when we want the gradient of different gamma k, which is a component of gamma. And the sample complexity is actually only related to the number of tunable Pauli rotations, those theta. So basically, it's kind of efficient in terms of sampling overhead. And also, we want to talk about something about scalability. It's just the essential part of this protocol is do some classical global operation or communication throughout this whole system, so it can spread the information faster. But the problem is you are doing this powerful thing, but is this scalable? Will the gradients actually vanish because of these operations? And we can actually answer this question by this following theorem. It's just by putting some, I think, reasonable constraint on these structures, we can actually make sure the gradient will not vanish. So basically, we can go back to these equations on the below. It's just this inner product of the quantum and classical part. So we just need to look at the classical and the quantum part themselves individually do not vanish. so which is kind of guaranteed by the shadow circuit types. Okay, and for this inner product structure, so we need some sparsity on these two part of the functions. Yeah, so combine this all condition together, we can just make sure like all this LOCC-VQE can train efficiently and won't be barren plateau stuff. And lastly, I will show some examples. The first one is the GHZ we just mentioned. Is we put it in a 1D chain model, and we put some perturbation to show that it's actually robust to a range of different models. So here we just put some kind of external magnetic field labeled that the strength is labeled by lambda from 0 to 1. And we can see like the left-hand side is the energy, that's the estimated ground state energy. And the blue part is the unitary circuit, unitary VQE. And the orange part is our methods, LOCC-VQE. And we use the same depths for kind of fair comparison. And this blue dashed line is just the true value of the ground state energy. So we can see there is a kind of a huge gap between our method and conventional unitary VQE. And especially when lambda is small, because when lambda is small, it's actually maintain more long-range entanglement, and it's get large, then it's kind of just make them vanish. So we also look into this, what happened here. Is we look at the mutual information between two ends, the distant part of the system. And what we can see is like because the spread of information is limited by the circuit in a unitary scenario. So we can see like for unitary output state, it cannot have this mutual information. But our method actually can capture accurately this kind of mutual information. And we also do a 2D system. It's a perturbed rotated surface code. And we also see advantages in the energy. Yeah, so basically this is the content of my presentation. Thank you.